First, I know a lot of high expectations going into this season. You talked about how Matt Patricia doesn't just want a playoff win, he wants to play in February. What can make that happen?
Every game is going to be a game unto itself. I mean, you take them 1 week at a time, and I know we're only preparing for one game right now, and that's the first game on the schedule, and even that's a ways down the road. So we'll be taking every game as a unique game planning week to week to try and win that game. Then you can win the next one, then you can win the next one, and we'll worry about February when we get to February. I do know, and Matt has said this publicly, that whether you finish 6-10, which is what we finished last year, or 9-7, or 7-9, or 10-6, all of those are kind of the same. They're not good enough. And we want to be one of those teams that you expect to have a home field advantage in the playoffs, maybe have a bye week, have to win 2 games to get to the big game, and be fit and healthy at the end of the year. So all of that is being prepared right now as we get into the off-season program, and hopefully when we get through a few of the games, we'll know what kind of team we have and how competitive we can be as we get into the regular season and later into the season.
You touched on being healthy. I know Marvin Jones made a big difference, being injured towards the end of the year, and several other players as well. Good off-season so far, a lot to be excited about. You guys are really excited about TJ Hawkinson. I know a lot of people maybe question the pick. You even talked about that yourself, but what do you see out of the tight end from Iowa?
Well, first of all, he's a great kid, great parents. I got to meet he and his parents when they came in after we picked him the next day. But I've heard even better things about him from our scouts as a player. I think he's going to be dynamic in the running game as a blocker and dynamic in the passing game. And now that we have he and Jesse James, who we signed in free agency, we'll be able to run 2 tight ends a lot, which can keep the defense on its heels. You might think we're going to run because they're both attached to the line of scrimmage, and maybe we'll split them back out, and now you've got to cover them. And it just creates a lot more unpredictability, I think, in the offense than what we've been able to do with the tight end, that we didn't have last year. We struck out on a few free agents, and we went with the guys that we had. It was a good group of guys, but it didn't create the kind of opportunities that we can see this year with the offense.
I think that's an interesting point because Darrell Bevell comes in as the new offensive coordinator. Jesse James, TJ Hawkinson, Nick Bowden, I know is a guy that you guys are really excited about, a fullback that you drafted after he missed all last year. Is this going to be a different offense? You guys kind of a run-first mentality now?
I think it'll be balanced, and I think not run first or run second. It'll be what's appropriate for that week's game plan. And you want to have the ability, if we have to run the ball 40 times, you want to be able to do that. If you have to pass 40 times, you want to be able to do that. And we'll do whatever the defense that we're playing against or what we want to do to the offense to keep them off the field that we're facing dictates each week. But you can't do it if you don't have the pieces. And right now we have, I think, 2 tight ends that can both catch the ball and block. We have a great running back in Kerryon Johnson. We added C.J. Henderson. We have Zach Zinner back. We still have Theo Riddick. I mean, so we got a lot of different pieces. You mentioned Nick, who the fans didn't get to see much because he tore his ACL in training camp. But I think he's going to be an interesting addition to the offense too. Good blocker, can receive, great on special teams, and he's a good leader. Even as a kid right out of college, you can see leadership ability in him all the way.
Unfortunately for you, you're a guy that has to answer a lot of tough questions about this franchise. And questions today arose about, I've been a fan for 50 years. We've very rarely won some playoff games. What do you say to fans like that?
Well, and I understand their pain because I'm one of them. I've been a Lions fan my whole life. I just ask them to believe that we're doing the right things, and I think bringing in Bob Quinn as our general manager 4 years ago, I think we've added talent to the team and depth to the team that we didn't have before. And I think now with Matt Patricia and a full off season and a year under his belt, bringing in the kind of players that fit his system, we're on the right track.
Lastly, Matt Stafford is a guy that catches a lot of criticism, with his contract and things. I know the 2 years prior to this season, great numbers and everything, seemed like he took a step back this year. But what do you tell fans about the quarterback, number 9?
He's a great player, great person, fantastic representative of our franchise. And while we didn't have as much success last year, including Matthew, I'm sure he would tell you the same thing. He has an arm that is unique in the NFL. He can make throws that nobody else can do. And I really think with the offense that we're going to have this year and the ability to keep teams on their back feet, hopefully, and not know that number 9 is going to drop back and pass it 50 times, he'll have the kind of year that I think people would have expected him to have last year. And I think if we can have a defense like we ended last year, where the defense is helping control the game and he doesn't have to have these miraculous fourth quarter comebacks that he was kind of known for, he'll be able to play much more in control, and he'll produce the kind of results I think that people want.